Previously on ARP.
Really get to know you. So let's understand in certainty that authentic realness has nothing to do with telling your personal business. It gets no more private than Aaron R. Plush. And that'll never change. Because I'm of the mindset that there's nothing in my life that's a secret. It's just like your business. So authentic realness and privacy are not the same. Those things are definitely different. But to give a real direct definition for authentic realness, it's simply ensuring that there's truth, ensuring that your perspective is governed by what you really see, how you really feel, and really being at a point of life where you're unapologetic that you could be the only person that feels a certain way.
Realness. All right, Fatty, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Theo, you there? I'm here. For introducing authentic realness. Hello. We're back again, everyone. Thank you all for your support. Thank you for listening. This Authentic Realness podcast, ARP experience is quite amazing. And we definitely thank you all for it. Tonight, we're just going to jump right in. We have a topic tonight that is one that is near and dear to all three of us, because I do have both Fabi and Theo on tonight. So hello, everyone.
What up?
Hi.
Fabi, are you joining us tonight?
He's on the move.
Yes, I'm
Clearly.
Here.
You're sure
Hi,
now?
Aaron.
You're
Hi,
certain
Theo.
of that?
I am here.
Perfect. Well, welcome in to both of you. And listeners, as you all know, we have our prep session 30 minutes before we begin recording. And tonight, our topic is about something that's near and dear to all three of us, as I alluded to. But it's also something that's going to be really practical that we all can use. Tonight, we're changing our format up a bit. Typically, I come on and I give this whole soliloquy, dissertation, Plush's perspective, whatever you want to call it. And I'm not doing that tonight. Tonight, we're just going to talk. But the topic is elevated thinking and positioning yourself to be in a place where, even when it's a topic that you know nothing about, you can still yet use your critical thinking skills to navigate your way through that particular conversation, discussion, or topic, and still yet appear and truly to be authentically intelligent in talking about that particular topic that you know nothing about. So, Fabi, Theo, let's jump in. Let's kind of get some thoughts from you all on how that topic resonates with both of you.
Okay, Fabi, you can go first. Go ahead.
Sure. I think it's a really great topic and very fitting, especially in the times we are in. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation and this discussion, as you mentioned, Aaron, really about stepping outside of yourself. I think that's also something that we'll probably discuss in this conversation today. But stepping outside of yourself and kind of analyzing yourself and saying, how am I handling this situation? What does this look like for me? I think sometimes we get in our head and take everything a little bit personally. So I'm excited to have this conversation today and get your thoughts as well. How about you, Theo?
So front of mind, Fabi. No. Before we go to Theo, front of mind for you, Fabi, what topic immediately comes to mind? Like, is there anything that you can think of? And I know I'm putting you on the hot seat. There was no preparation. We didn't get a pre-question. But as you were saying that, I'm certain that there was something you were specifically thinking of. What is that something?
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially in the times that we are in right now with a lot of things happening in the corporate world,
Okay.
we see a lot of people that, of course, are affected personally by decisions companies are making. Of course, salaries
Okay.
are affected, family, jobs,
Yep.
healthcare, things are affected by these decisions.
Okay.
But I know we've talked about this in previous episodes too, is mindset, right?
Yep.
Taking yourself out of it and not taking it so personally, because it is a business at the end of
Yep.
the day.
Correct.
And I don't want that to come off harsh, because God forbid these are challenging times. But at times when I see folks who are taking these situations extremely personal, and then I feel like that then affects you personally, and it allows you to spiral and be in a little bit of a negative space. So that's something that came top of mind as you were talking about the way that you're constantly thinking about situations.
I love it. And I'll take it a bit further, and I really don't care if someone takes it from me from a vantage point that it's harsh, because sometimes the reality of life is that life is harsh.
Almost definitely.
And we have to get to a point where we can embrace the harshness of life. Like to lose a job, to be fired, to be laid off. None of those things feel good. I don't care who you are. That's not a happy moment.
No, not at all.
But what we have to understand is that the job does not make us. Like
Right.
Your job is not who you are. Your job is what you do. Even when you're passionate about it, even when it's something you love doing, even when it's something you've been doing for 20 plus years. The harsh reality is it still yet is a business. And when I talk about elevated thinking, one of the things that I really want to challenge all of us, because I challenge myself on this. So please understand, listeners, that I never ask you all to do anything that I don't do myself, that I don't force myself to do. And certainly, to be clear, yes, I have empathy. Yes, I am compassionate. No, I haven't even gotten far along enough in my career and my success for you all to cancel me yet. So please don't put me on the cancel list, because Plush said he doesn't care and he wants to be harsh. Let's not take this out of context. And that's one of the things that I think about cancel culture that I really have a problem with, is the fact that people don't even give folks that we're canceling the opportunity to truly articulate themselves in a way where I can get beyond the shock value of what the person said and really just listen and get rid of any of those preconceived notions that I might have to be so quick to cancel. So I've addressed that. So don't cancel me. But if you want to cancel me, hey, that too, I'll be fine. I'll continue on. But in that non-canceling situation, what I want to be able to say in very, very certain terms is that elevated thinking allows us to step outside of ourselves and beyond ourselves to be able to see why something may be happening. Not giving any company a pass off. But if a company is going through a layoff period, it's because of a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Companies don't just lay people off for the sake of laying them off. There's a business decision that is being made, that there is a financial situation that's going on that is impacting the fact that although this is a multi-million, billion-dollar company, that bottom line is still yet being impacted.
Almost definitely.
So the layoff is a decision that a senior leader somewhere had to make a difficult decision. What I want us to stop doing is just always being the victim and knowing that at some point or another, you may very well be that senior leader who has to make that difficult decision. Then what? Does it turn into now that you're this horrible person? No. You just happen to be a senior leader at a company that has to make some decisions, and it's going to impact the lives of other people. And certainly, there's a way to do this. You can terminate people with a level of dignity and respect. But that comes from taking a human approach and treating humans the way that you yourself would want to be treated, first. But again, that's elevated thinking. Go ahead, Theo.
You know what's crazy? As you were going through your response, and that it made me think about a year ago. I had just got engaged, and I came to work that Monday, and my job laid my whole team off.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
So it really resonates because immediately in that moment, you're going to take it personally. Just your human instinct.
Yeah.
I mean, like, dang, I just spit out on this ring. I come to work. I didn't been here for 10 years. And you get rid of me, blah, 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 blah. Mad, cussing.
It's everybody else's fault but yours.
Exactly. But the crazy thing about it, after I left, I had a chance to talk to one of the higher ups. I saw him passing in the airport, and he was like, it wasn't that you guys were doing anything wrong, or he was like, you capped out. You was making too much, and we needed to cut some fat, and we cut the fat of the people that made the most. So I'm like, what? So a lot of times people think if I'm at the bottom, they'll cut me first. No, they will cut you at the top, but you can't take it personally, because when you take a step back and you really think about it, okay, I've gained so much from this company. Yeah, they got rid of me, but there's beauty in that, because now I can use the level set that I've gotten from them to level up and go somewhere else.
Absolutely.
And the other part that I tell you, Theo, let's get away from that they mindset, because I have found when it's that us-them mindset that gets us in trouble.
Yeah.
Because the bottom line is there's only a matter of time that you yourself will be the they. And I can say this because I've been in the they category
But
before.
get this, Plush, that's why I am. I had to lay people off.
Like they made these decisions. My name happens to be Aaron, not they, for the record.
Yep.
But Aaron had to make some decisions that impact the lives of other folks. Aaron has been in situations where his life has been impacted.
Yep.
Now, I could go back on record to say what I always say. For Aaron, his constant, I think a near and dear friend that had to make this crystal clear to me, because I used to say that God is my default. And his challenge to me was like, yo, I know you really well. God is not your default. God is your constant.
Yeah.
And that correction, because words are important, because I'm very literal. Certainly those people who've been listening, you get it that I'm a very literal guy.
Mm-hmm.
I understand figurative concepts, but I'm more literal. And in turn, for me, God being my constant, whenever anything happens in my life, be it a layoff, and I've been that multiple times, be it fired, I've been that a couple of times too, believe it or not. Aaron pushing all his greatness and all the wonderful work that I do, I've been fired. And those moments did not crush me. Those moments all make me who I am today, and makes my journey that more beautiful from a vantage point where when it comes to a job, whatever ever happens to me, they didn't do anything. It's not a they, a them, the company, or anything else. And certainly I'm not telling the world everybody needs to think this way. But for me, the they that we like to refer to will never have that much dominion, authority, and power over me. Because that's what happens when you go with that mindset. Right. Because I trust God in all components of my life. That's just a part of my journey. My time with company ABC ended on this particular date. And the God that I serve already has the next job and journey and whatever else is next for me already planned. All I got to do is live it out.
You're right.
Continue to you.
You're right. But the thing about it, just I can actually say I'm a witness of what you just stated, because I never missed a beat. You know what I mean? Like the crazy thing, and I know if someone listens to the past episodes, they know I always reference my fraternity brothers. Crazy thing is, I picked up a part-time job right after that situation happened. Matter of fact, right before that situation happened, and my fraternity brother came into that part-time job, and he said, "Don't you work in XYZ?" I was like, "Yeah, I do." He was like, "Give me a call next week." Gave him a call. The company that he negotiated me for double what I was making at the previous company. So it's very important to keep God in the mix, like you said. But even going beyond that situation that I was faced with, I was put in a seat where I was the one doing the conversation, where you get that random meeting invite that's only 5 minutes. You're like, why is it a 5-minute meeting? You already know what it is. They're going to say what they got to say through the little script. Well, we say what we have to say through our script, and that's it. But it put me in a different mindset when I was in that position and I had to have that conversation with someone. And it really is important in how you explain and show that empathy, but at the same time, do your job. You can't come in there and do the woe is me type thing and pay people. You really have to say what it is, but at the same time, be understanding to how it's going to affect them as well. So just that balance in that, in being able to not take things personally or approach it from a personal state, because at the end of the day, it's business.
Yeah. And Fabi, I know you have something amazing to say, but I have to say this before I forget. And certainly that's no excuse, but that's the truth. I want to be crystal clear. We're not normalizing companies laying people off, firing people, making it okay.
No, not at all.
Let me be very certain in those terms, because there are those times where there is some shady business going on and people get fired that don't have just cause for being fired. There are layoffs that aren't, quote unquote, justified.
Right.
And in those moments, there are ways to handle those. Call the legal system. It's there for a reason. Call up some of these attorneys who work in the corporate space, and they certainly will allow you to know whether or not there's a case for you to have a conversation with someone. Because never should anyone just lay down for a situation where they've been slighted. But when you're being laid off and it's a workforce reduction and it's justifiable by the company, and again, get out of your feelings to be able to look, if you're at a poor performing company, you know there are issues. And that's not hidden information. That's information that's typically public information. Go read a couple of articles. Don't go to the rumor mill. Don't go all to the layoffs.com and whoever those other trash sites are. Go to the legitimate sources of where you can get real deal information, govern yourself accordingly, keep it moving, trust God for the believers, and know that God has greater in store, ahead, and for you. And if you trust him, as Theo alluded to, you won't miss a meal.
Not at all.
Life will be grand. Life will likely be better than it was. And you just keep churning. And this is me from a living witness perspective. But again, I'm just not going to give any situation that level of dominion where it then controls and consumes me. Go ahead, Powerful.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm, of course, guilty of being in my feelings when things don't go as I planned.
We all do. Including the great Aaron Plush. So let's go on record for that. But go ahead.
But the one thing, and I know this is cliche, I know folks have probably heard this, that has really grounded me, especially these last couple of months, is it's not a rejection, it's a redirection. And Absolutely. I think that's so important, because at times we look at things and we personally feel rejected, or we personally feel like, why is this happening to me? But as you mentioned, when you trust in God and trust that something good will come out of this, it is like the best redirection ever. So I think it's just allowing yourself to really surrender, go through the motions, be in your feels, but realize that you have to keep pushing through. And what's to come is always better than what was.
Definitely.
A significant life lesson that I've learned, Fabi, in relation to the point that you're making about why is this happening to me, God has always just laid back into my spirit, why not me?
Realness.
Like, what makes me think that everyone else is supposed to go through this, but Aaron R. Plush is somehow immune. That, oh, it's okay when it happens to Fabby. Oh, it's okay when it happens to Theo. But when the knock is at my door, oh boy,
Right.
woe is me, lay it out somewhere. Oh my God, why me, Lord? Why is this happening to me? What have I done? Who's punishing me? I've even heard the whole concept of I'm cursed and all these type things. It's none of those things, people. In certain terms, it's called life. It's a journey. We can be emotional. We can go through whatever we need to go through. But let's always remember to keep our head up. Let's always remember to trust that things are already okay, to keep that positive mindset, to keep that mindset of success. And I can assure you that situation that you thought was going to take you out is very well that situation that redirected you to a higher plateau. Because in my own personal situation, I love comfort. I love service. I love things to be my way. But I can tell you all that the greatest growth in my life has always been in struggle. Like when I have gone from one level to the next level, it's never been in good times. My going from one level to the next highest level has been in struggle. Not saying that's going to be the case for everyone, because I am not silly enough to believe that the story of all 8 billion of us is going to be exactly the same. But I am willing to say that I have noticed in the very small population of folks that God has allowed me to encounter of his 8 billion, that seems to be the norm for most that I know, is that growth and development and strength and getting to the next level always happens in struggle, not in times of, oh, things are going exceptionally well and you're so great and it's so spectacular.
You're right about that.
That has been my experience.
You really see your strength in those moments.
You do.
It stretches your faith, but you really see your strength in those moments where you feel like I'm back up against the wall and I don't know what to do.
So to redirect this conversation, because certainly this is not about the fired, layoff, very popular thing that's going on in these times, and very much will be a very popular thing that goes on in all times, considering the number of us, and the number of jobs, and how companies operate, and how things just evolve over times. But what else, Theo, like what else is front of mind for you where you can think that taking an elevated mindset, getting outside of yourself, thinking beyond yourself is a topic that we can talk through that would help everyone to identify how significant critical thinking skills are and how those critical thinking skills at their lowest common denominator can be used in any situation to help you methodically navigate through any topic.
The one word that comes to mind, just thinking about everything you just said, is just listening. A lot of times, a conversation will be going on, whether it's professionally or whether it's personally, and you just jump in. Somebody will jump in with whatever's going on in their mind without listening. And that ruins a lot of conversations. It's very simple. Just listen. Mm-hmm. You can go.
So God is funny.
You can go a long way if you listen and critically listen. No,
God is funny.
But I'll let you.
God is real funny.
I feel like something brewing over there. Go ahead.
Oh no, something's really brewing because something is brewing for something that happened today.
Okay.
So high level, everybody knows that at my core, I'm a process program project mind.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that God has allowed me to critically do is to be able to take a concept that, hey, we have a problem. We want to get to a solution and work backwards to identify all the steps that has to happen to get to the solution. I had a situation where I was just sharing with someone how if only the world would listen more. So let's just say hypothetically we had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say our problem was related to this podcast, that we were struggling to identify what our next topic was going to be.
Okay.
So I engage us in a situation where we decide that Fabi is going to lead us in a dialogue. And Fabi's expectation as a leader is to get us to a point where by the time we're done with the conversation, we have a series of next topics that we're going to have for the podcast. Well, you and I, rather than listening to what Fabi's asking us and providing back feedback to the exact questions that she's asking, we're every place else. We're providing every other response other than what she's asking us because of what you're saying. Because we're not listening.
Mm-hmm.
That we just feel that what we have to say is way more critical and important than what Fabi is asking. So rather than answering what she's asking, I'm just going to give her what's on my mind.
Right.
The harsh reality is, if we were to have been good stewards of our time and respectful of the question that Fabi is asking, we really could have been at that end point of having our next topics much quicker. And chances are, because Fabi is amazing at facilitation, she would eventually get us there. But why are we taking her around the world and back again when we could have just answered specifically what she asked, stayed on task, don't add anything new? Well, Fabi, what about this? Or Fabi, what about that? Or Fabi, what about we do it this way? She didn't need any of that. She's the leader. Trust her process. So that goes back to not only listening, Theo, but can we, for the love of God, restrain ourselves? Even if you got to write down a note, like if I have something else to say, I can write it down and say it after we're done. But have a level of obedience. And this is across all parts of life. This is at work. This is in your social life. This is with your family. This is with whomever. Listen better. Respond in the way that people are asking you to respond.
Speaking truth.
And the world would certainly be a better place. So thank you, Theo, for reminding me of that situation that just occurred today.
That's it.
And how appropriate that is for this conversation.
Yeah. Simple takes the guesswork out. I hope you guys caught that, Jim, because he definitely laid it very clear for you.
Simple, yet quite complex. Simple and almost next to impossible for humans to do.
You're right. Fabi, what are your thoughts on that?
I totally agree with what both of you are saying. A lot of, especially what was mentioned, I feel like that's very common in the workplace.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly thinking about solving the problem versus listening to what the person is saying or how you're going to respond to the situation. I think it also comes back to stating very, very clearly what are the outcomes that you're looking for. What is the response from the audience that you're looking for?
Yeah.
That it's not an open discussion. It's not a free-for-all. Yeah. These are the key takeaways that you want. So I agree. Listening is imperative, but I know it's hard. Been there, done that. I'm guilty of that as well. But it's really just taking time to, again, remove yourself from the situation, giving that person your undivided attention, and then responding.
I tell you what it is, Fabi. My experience has been we like to solution before we know what the problem is.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Like how am I solutioning? How am I giving all of the thoughts of what I think the answer is, and we don't even know the question? We have to spend more time on what's the problem statement. What is the question? What is it that we're trying to fix? And really dive and delve very deep into what it is that the problem is. And then once we know what the problem is, we can begin to look at solutions. But what happens is, because Aaron knows it all, Aaron already has the answer. So Aaron comes into the meeting with the answer, preconceived, just as wrong as can be, loud, knowing he's right, and just as wrong as can be, because he's solutioning to a problem that no longer exists. Mm-hmm. He's solutioning to something that he's created in his mind that has nothing to do with what Fabby, the facilitator, is trying to get us to at the time. Because all Fabby wants us to do is to say, hey, we're looking for what our next topics are for the podcast.
Absolutely.
But because Aaron knows so much, Aaron is all into 2080 and everybody else is in 2022. So the challenge to everybody on the call in that elevated thinking, don't be Aaron in that next meeting. Be that person who's present, who's in 2022, who's listening to the facilitator, who is answering based upon the context of what is being asked, is solutioning based upon the problem. And if you have other thoughts on, ooh, that then impacts this, ooh, that goes down this path to that, write it down. And once you and your team gets beyond the topic and the focal point at hand, then bring up your other points. Because it may very well be that, hey, that's a great idea, Aaron, but let's table that for the next discussion.
That's it.
And then we can give that its focus time as well. Mm-hmm. Whoa, blown away.
That's it. But even to piggyback off you guys, even from a business sense, a professional sense, thinking about, the things I've done this week thus far, when it comes to interviewing or even talking with someone that may be in a position higher than you, when they ask you a question, be clear and concise, like Aaron said. A lot of times when you go into a workspace or you go into a situation, you give too much in your answer and they're not asking for that. Like me being a podcast, Aaron can be like, Theo, can you make sure the volume in this section is up? Simple question. Okay. I can answer that. Okay, yeah, I can do that. Instead, sometimes we go about it and we want to be too technical and show how much we know. And that will dig you in a deeper hole because you really wasn't listening. You heard part of what he was asking and you just want to give this whole grandiose answer when that's not needed at the time. When you effectively listen, you're able to directly and concisely give what's being asked of you, opposed to going on this tangent and going all the way to Wakanda and back. When that ain't...
And back again.
Yeah, and back again. So I could simply be like, the decibels and 48 gigahertz and all this stuff. And you'll be like, Theo, what are you talking about? I didn't ask you none of that. I just asked you to turn the volume up. And previously in situations where we worked together, that's how I would handle things when I was a lot younger. Plus be like, I ain't asked you that. I don't hear none of that. Because I would listen. Yeah. I was in this whole technical mind space and I was in a whole nother conversation that he was in when the answer could have been, I got you. I can do that.
Yeah. And what that boils down to, Theo, is anytime that you're trying to be impressive, you already are. Because one of the things that you have to understand about being impressive, either you are or you're not. Mm-hmm. You don't have to try to be impressive. And particularly when dealing with someone direct as I am, a yes or no answer goes a long way for me. Yep. There are things that Theo has been able to tell me, no, Plush, you can't do that. Now, of course, I'm going to ask why, and he's just going to come back, no, it's not possible. Move on. Next. And certainly, I might even go pout. But here's the harsh reality. I'm either going to pout or I'm going to help solution to say, hey, Theo, this is how we can do it. Or, God forbid that the great Aaron R. Plush has to accept a no. Whoa. It's okay. Like, the answer to some things straight up is just no. And you have to be okay with the no.
That's it. That's it.
One of the last things that I'm going to say as we wrap this amazing session of elevated thinking, using the core of what we have for critical thinking and showing that it's transferable, this is at the core of A&R Plush Consultant. When I'm working with my clients, when it comes to the consultation, it's all about getting directly to specific answers to the questions that I'm asking. And then when we begin working together, it's that two-way street of both me being very clear and concise in my questions and responses to my client, and then the client doing the same thing with me. Guess what happens? Newsflash. That's when we have that synergy. That's when we sync really well together. That's when we have the success of being able to say that I'm working with this client. Here is the problem statement. Here's the solution that we have identified that we're working on. Here's our action plan. We are on time. Here are our updates. Here's our delivery date. We even meet it earlier than expected because we're that in sync. Nobody's trying to be anything. We are impressive. We are doing what we're supposed to do. We are speaking very directly. We are saying no when necessary. And most importantly, we both are very direct, and we're operating in a spirit of excellence that's governed by authentic realness. No fake, no phony, no pretenses, no telling each other what we want to hear, no fantasy world, bottom line, real deal. This is what it is. Point blank, straight to the point. One of the things that we're going to be introducing in upcoming episodes, I've identified people in my life that are very direct, straightforward, point blank. Those people that say what the rest of us are thinking. I'm identifying them as authentic realness experts. R. These are my R folks. And God has allowed me, I'm definitely one of the R folks, but I will just be A&R Plush. But these R folks might rub a lot of you the wrong way. But that's what I want them to do. Because I want you all to see the beauty of these people is you never have to guess where they're coming from. You always know what they're thinking because they're going to tell you. Good, bad, or indifferent, they're going to tell you. Now, can they massage their messaging sometimes? Yeah, but it's not who they are. And you get to a point where you begin to embrace them. Then you get to a point where you begin to love them. And then you're like, wow, these people make life so much easier because they're so direct. So what these authentic realness experts are going to be doing is that they're going to be kind of our BS meter. They're going to be the ones that are going to be on all of our episodes going forward, where at least one of them will just kind of be sitting in the background, silent. And then when I say something silly, and Plush, that makes sense, they're going to call me out on it. They're going to give me their perspective, and then we're going to talk about it. I'm a master debater, love the debate team. And in turn, these people are going to allow you all to see more of that critical thinking, elevated thinking that we talked about tonight. They're going to do the same thing to Theo. They're going to do the same thing to Fabi. It's going to be funny to me. I'm going to sit back and enjoy. Because the great thing about this podcast, I hope you all understand this. All three of us are very much so professional, corporate folks that get it done. But not only do we get it done, we have fun. We enjoy the process. How boring would it be that we don't ever laugh? How boring would it be that we are always getting, oh, I agree exactly what Fabi said. No, that's not how this works. We all aren't always going to agree. But one of the harsh realities of life is that agreeing to disagree is foolish to me as well. We just disagree, and we still going to be friends. We're going to just disagree, and we're good. We're going to disagree. We're going to go out and have drinks and hang out and have dinner and just be the best of friends. Because we all don't have to hold hands and sing kumbaya and still yet be on the same page. Fatty, closing thoughts.
Great conversation. That would be my closing thoughts. One, I would say I'm excited to have the R folks on the call. That will definitely be interesting, and to see how we'll get called out. So Theo, I'm really looking forward to what they have to say to us. But overall, this has been a really, really great conversation. I feel like all of our conversations are very timely and with really great takeaways. So really excited about the conversation we had. And yeah, thank you for that.
Theo?
Again, I would just say, really, really take heed to the words spoken this evening. There's a lot of gems that have been dropped, as always. And just listen before you speak. And I don't mean to go back to a professional sense, but sometimes if you listen, you'll realize some interviews or some spaces, they don't want to hear how much you know or how technical you can be. They just want to see your personality. And if you're somebody they would want to be around for 8 hours a day. So listen, see what you can contribute to the conversation. It may be simpler than what you think, and you causing yourself anxiety by trying to be too deep or just going around the Mayberry bush. Just listen. So if you don't pick up anything else, just listen.
And again, remember that if you're not already the interviewer, eventually you will be.
Yeah.
So stop always just putting yourself in the shoes of being the interviewee.
Mm-hmm.
Put your shoes and yourself in the place of the interviewer, in the place of the company that wants to bring you on, or you being the one bringing people on. And that's a part of that whole elevated thinking as well. And Fabby said it well, stepping outside of yourself. Understanding that it's greater than Aaron's vantage point and perspective. And certainly we all know I am not short of an opinion. But I definitely am not stupid enough to think that my perspective and opinion is the only one. So the beauty of me is, whether I agree or disagree with Fabby's vantage point is irrelevant. I'm always willing to listen to it. And Theo and anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
At any level, a child, whomever, I'm always going to listen, because there's always something that I can learn as a lifelong learner. But again, in order to be someone who's learning, that whole concept that we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, 2 is always going to be more than 1. So meaning we might need to do a little more listening than we do talking. Kind of like that basic math that none of us can get wrong. Take heed of those things. Because I can tell you that God was always intentional and deliberate in all that he's ever done. Because if we were supposed to have 2, 3, 4, 5 mouths, we would. We have 1.
That's it.
And no, I'm not getting overly deep. There's nothing all that serious in what I just said. It's just the harsh reality of life. And in that, such an amazing session. And I do have to run because I have another call. But in that, let's pray. Heavenly Father God, just thank you, God, for just being who you are, God. God, we thank you for such a fruitful conversation on elevated thinking, how we take the practical skills and knowledge that we have, and we make it transferable, God. That you, God, have allowed this podcast in such a short time to just be a recap of my life. That so many conversations, God, that I've had with you, with other people, that you're just constantly allowing them to build and grow. Because I'm going to be honest and transparent, and from an authentic realness perspective, I had no idea what the topic was going to be tonight. None, 0. And the topic came during our 30-minute session before, in preparation for tonight's call. And for that, God, we say thank you. God, I'd ask that you continue to cover all the listeners to this particular podcast, because certainly, God, we all have needs. God, I'd ask that you would continue to cover the world. Thank you for the series, God, that my pastor is preaching right now about prayer and the fact that we pray to you, God, and that we pray to you, God, from a vantage point of our relationship with you, that we can pray bold prayers, that we can pray big prayers, that we can stop to our little small ways of thinking. So God, right now, I want to pray the biggest prayer of my entire life. that concepts of the Lord, you know prayer, because God, I know that you know all things. And for those that don't know, the Lord, you know prayer is a very short prayer that God revealed to me years ago, but it's a prayer of complete supplication, of surrender, of saying to God that, hey, I may not necessarily have the words of knowing what to pray, but you know all about me, you know about all of the world, you know about what we all need. And because we trust you, we want to lift up all those things. So God, I want to lift up everything and every need that's around the entire globe. And it's not because there's anything overly great about Aaron R. Plush, but it's because, God, that I know how significant and wonderful and great that you are. And because you are the creator of all of this, and that you've given me the opportunity, little old me from Orangeburg, South Carolina, to have a relationship with you, I want to honor that relationship by lifting up all of the brothers and sisters of the world. Because, God, in all these very dark things that are going on right now, from the shooting at UVA to all the other terrible things that are going on around the world, we all need to be lifted. So, God, right now, we honor you. We thank you. And it's in the glorious and magnificent name of your son, Jesus, that we pray. Amen.
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 All right. As a friendly reminder to all of the listeners, the best part of this Authentic Realness podcast, ARP,
Realness,
is each and every one of you. And I am concluding in my new way. And notice we didn't do another episode number, because certainly I don't know what numbers we're going to start releasing these in. So that's just another authentic, realness, transparent moment that there's no number, because we're just going to release these as God says, hey, this is the week to release this particular one. But until next time, let's all make it spectacular.